everybody, it's Amanda. Today we're going to be discussing a basic for loop example. We're not going to be discussing range-based for loops today. However, I'm going to introduce you to for loops. If you've already seen for loops, this isn't going to help you. However, if you haven't seen a for loop, this will help you. Also, it'll give you a little bit of insight into local variables if you're not familiar with local variables inside your program. So let's go ahead and run the program real fast and show you what this does. It's nothing fancy. I have here in my for loop, I declared an integer named I, which is usually to indicate the index, and I assigned it to 0. I is less than 10. As long as I is less than 10, then I'm going to increment I, which means I'm going to add it. And this is in a prefix notation, not postfix notation. I'm not going to discuss that right now, just an FYI. Then we're going to come down here to my cout statement. And for my index, I have I plus 1. The reason why I'm going to be adding 1 to this is because it's going to start at 0. The reason why it's going to start at 0, we're not going to discuss that right now. It's going to go into a different data type later down the road. However, when you usually see a for loop in this format, it's going to start with an I that is initialized to 0. So I plus 1, and then I'm going to add a space here and display hello inside my string literal, and then followed by my endl. And as you can see, it prints 10 times, followed by the word hello. Let's go ahead and start from the beginning. So I have my for loops. Some people would say that these are not conditionals. However, they definitely can be a conditional. If you add 2 semicolons in here, followed by your starting curly brace and your ending curly brace, this would result in an infinite loop, just an FYI. So, okay, going back to the loop explanation. So here we have our for loop followed by whatever data type we want to declare here. I'm going to use an integer since we've been using integers in our previous examples, sorry. And I'm going to assign it 0, like I said. I'm going to do a different number this time, so I'm going to do less than 20, followed by my semicolon. You notice that I have a semicolon here, semicolon here. Again, syntax of the program. My spacing I have, however, is style preference. This is style preference if I wanted a space there. If I didn't want a space here, people usually don't space in their parentheses, but I do. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to increment my index with my prefix notation still, and I will go ahead and show you why I'm going to add my 1 to my index now. There's my string literal, followed by my endl. So now it's going to start at 0 instead of starting at 1. As you can see, it starts at 0 and it ends at 19. That's because it's less than 20. However, there are still 20 things inside of here. It's just starting at 0 instead of 19. That's what I was talking about. It's going to be discussed for a different type of data type going down the road. It's just good to know and how to use it right now. So if I just go ahead and add 1 to it, again, this doesn't have to be in parentheses. This is a style preference. This isn't necessarily a have to. However, it's very clear what you're trying to do here rather than trying to just be like, oh yeah, hey, that's what we're just randomly doing math inside of a for loop. No big deal. So now when I print this, it's going to start at 1 and it's going to end at 20. Going back to the local variables and local part of the program. So as you can see, I declared I as my index inside of my for loop. However, I don't have access to I outside of my for loop. As you can see, it turns into a red squiggly line. That is because the variable is only inside of these parentheses, and it is a local scope. However, it is still local inside of the loop itself, as well as this beginning and ending curly brace, which is the syntax for the for loop itself. So let's go ahead and remove that. And as I said, again, we do have access to the variable inside of our loop. So if I wanted to assign I a number, I could. So if I assign it 9, it's going to be assigned 9 plus 1. So that's going to be 10, and it's going to display hello next to it. As we run the program, we can see that happens. So it turns into 10, and it displays hello. Another thing to keep in mind, the only reason why this worked is because 9 plus 1 is equivalent to 10. So although it's 10, it's still in the program from 0 to 9. So 9 is technically less than 10, so it allows you to run the program, which it displays 9 plus 1, and that's 10, followed by hello. However, if I was to change this variable, because again, it's doing this comparison, so I have my integer data type followed by the name, which is just I. Usually you see I for index is assigned 0. I is less than 10. As long as I is less than 10, then it gets incremented. However, in this case, because I is assigned inside of the for loop, it will always be true. Therefore, if it's true, it's going to result in another infinite loop in this case. So as we run the program, you'll see our loop just continuously going because it will always be less than 10. So because I is assigned 8 and it's always less than 10, then it will result in an infinite loop. However, if we wanted to avoid that, I said that there was one way. There's also another way. If you wanted to assign it something greater than 10 and wanted to run the program, you could. This is not something you would normally do, just an FYI. However, it is possible. As always, I created some terms for you to look up and some notes from the video. Our for loops, as well as range-based for loops for later, local variables, local scope, how loops are used, why are they used, and when do you need a loop are some things to look into. This is a very basic example. I'm sorry I can't go into much more of it today. However, I hope that you found some of this information beneficial. I hope I didn't leave out too much. If I do, look at the notes from the video. I always go back and post something if I feel like I missed it. Again, thanks for your time. I hope everybody has a great day. Follow, like, and subscribe if you like this video. Thanks for your time.